Hi, thank you for sticking around. That's very nice of you. So we're going to have fun today. We're going to talk about Decorating 101. I'm a big believer in rules. I think if you know the rules, then you can break them. But if you don't know them, then you might make some big mistakes. Joel is a senior design editor at House & Home, and he won't say nice things about himself, but I can tell you. He's very creative. He has a great eye. He knows how to take something that you thought you had to throw away and make it great. I remember when you took some chairs of mine that I had for 100 years, and they were fantastic. You remade them. Like, he's very, very creative. And he's on his third renovation?
This is my third renovation. That's hard to believe, but you're right. Yeah.
I'm
going to slow down now.
Which will be in House & Home soon. Yeah. So he has a lot of great tips for you. Shall we start?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about the rules, our rules, and see if you agree. And we won't always agree on everything.
No.
But I
feel like I've learned so much from you. We agree on a lot.
Oh, thanks, Joel. Okay, let's see. Can we get rid of the clock? Thank you. So one of the most important things is to build a file. You have to build a file. We always have a file going for every room that we do, and it's not just photos. I mean, before there was Pinterest, we were busy clipping photos. We still are. And collecting brochures and pictures of products. What are some of the things that you carry in your file?
Basically, it's kind of starting from with the bones and choosing the finishes that you really love, but it's also just getting inspired. The examples that we have on the screen, these are some before shots of a kitchen that we renovated.
Your makeover for IKEA.
This is a makeover, an IKEA kitchen makeover that was published in our October issue. And it's helpful to take photos, before photos, in a sense, because then you can really study them. I find that when you're in a space, you can kind of be overwhelmed by it, but sometimes looking at a photo, you can kind of really zone in on the different details and the real moments that you want to create in the space.
And you have to take them anyway for posterity.
Exactly.
Because if you, maybe you'll send us the after, and you'd be surprised the number of people who don't have befores. I can't believe it. And the other thing is that you can sketch over the pictures. And if you're not a great sketcher, use the picture and do your drawings right on there with tissue paper. And that helps you think through the space.
Completely.
Okay.
So kind of starting with these before shots, that's a great
so we have a thing we do with new clients. We lay out a whole table full of pictures, and they're all different, and they are actually radically different in design, color, architecture, and if there's a couple involved, we ask each person to choose their favorite pictures and separate them out. And you know what's interesting? First of all, they almost never choose the same pictures, which is
I can see that.
Interesting. And often the pictures have nothing to do with their space. So it's really important that you come up with a vision that has something to do with your space. Okay.
So along the lines of the same project, like Lynda was just saying, it's kind of getting inspired, like finding inspiration photos that lend well to the space you live in. So this was a galley kitchen in a narrow row house here in Toronto.
The one they just saw.
The one we just saw, the befores of it. I found this photo of a really gorgeous kitchen. It has a kind of sense of cabinetry, the lowers, and then there's a lot of openness above. So making a small narrow space still feel open, but then still having a lot of functionality. So this was just one shot, but it was a real mood that we were trying to create.
But what about the garlic?
Well, that's more exactly that. It's a mood. It was the colors. It was just the texture within that garlic. I always was kind of inspired by, and then this is another photo. That's not my feet, but just the oversized feeling of this. I guess that's limestone, but done in a herringbone. And I liked how that kind of threw to the garlic. And then, which kind of comes around full circle, is this wallpaper. It's Queen of Spain by Schumacher. Love it too. But it almost looks like the shape of garlic, and in that same color palette, those little paint strokes.
And the velvet ribbon?
The velvet ribbon is just a color that I was longing to use, and I knew it would work so handsomely with the kind of rich dark brown and a lot of white and this kind of subtle taupey wallpaper.
Is that Mick Jagger?
That is Mick Jagger.
Okay.
So that was I'm not sure when this photo was taken, but I'm pretty sure it's an icon, but he's in front of the original Queen of Spain wallpaper, which was in the black and white colorway. So this is something that's been chic for a really long time, so I was excited to use it.
So this was your palette, your texture, your pattern.
And this is
Let's
what
just
we
go
had
back
showed.
one more time and look at what you were starting with. Okay, that's what he was starting with. Did you have a budget?
We did have a budget. So the IKEA contest, they had $35,000 to do the whole thing. So that was also something.
Appliances and everything.
Yes.
So that's it sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot.
No.
For a whole kitchen with appliances, finishes, cabinets, everything, including buying the IKEA cabinets.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have to pay for everything. Okay.
So
The elements. This has to go in your file, the elements. So you've got a piece of wallpaper, fabrics.
fabric samples,
Yeah.
samples of the doors, samples of the actual countertop materials.
Yeah.
We literally would just carry these around with us while sourcing furniture because you need to see how
Right.
it all plays together.
Floor plan.
The floor plan, which I always start with a sketch. It's something that you can change. It's nothing perfect for quite a while. And as long as you have a sense of scale, it's hard to draw when you don't know how things are relating to each other before you then put it into like a rendering or some sort of AutoCAD
Piece of furniture.
program. Yeah, these are the kind of, like if you know you really love a chair, but you aren't sure which table that you might want to choose, take a picture of it with you and bring that chair with you and then you'll kind of see the two side by side. I find I get dizzy when I step into, as a professional, you still walk into a beautiful store like LT and there's so many great things to look at. You have to kind of be focused. So if you have this file with you, say the chair you really love, it kind of reminds you, oh wait, I'm looking for tables, not just, oh, look at that, look at that. It just keeps you kind of focused.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to have a jumping off point. You have to know the essence of the room. And if you should be able to walk into a store and say yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, based on your vision.
Exactly.
Right? So you got to get that going. That's really important.
Yeah.
And this is what he did with it.
Yeah, that's the
It's
after.
fantastic.
So-
It's halfway between your inspiration, kind of, and something a little more modern.
Exactly. So you can see the inspiration a little more literally on the one side where we kind of kept the lowers below, but then because we had no upper storage on that side, we needed to really maximize the opposite side of the kitchen. So it was a lot more built in. And,
It's gorgeous.
but a lot sleeker. So those are all on push.
Gorgeous.
Thank you, Lynda. They're all
Okay,
push latch.
and the herringbone, you used porcelain tile
That's a porcelain
in
tile.
a herringbone.
In a herringbone.
And did you choose where the colors were going to go?
Oh gosh, I was there the day the floor was being installed all day, watching them put them in. But it was the contractor
Did
who
you
did it.
decide light, dark, light? Didn't come that way.
No, it didn't come. So that's actually it's two different colorways, and we bought half of.
That's a good
basically
idea.
bought two different color options and put them together. And it's that kind of randomness, but it
Yeah.
has a real trendy feel to it because it is that kind of random lay.
Good idea.
But then the traditional pattern of a herringbone will last a lot longer.
Wallpaper's gorgeous. The extra high valance at the back.
Yes, that which
Curb
is something
is
I learned
gorgeous.
from you. And that little
and you
shelf.
used the green at the back.
Yeah, so that was the real hit. They have a gorgeous garden in the back, so bringing that color in, but then it's just the perfect accent with these kind of taupey, brownie tones.
Pretty great for $35,000, including all the appliances.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
Thank
That could sell a house for sure. Okay, consider how you live. This is so important. By the way, that's Kim Cottrell in her teepee on
so
her
cool.
property. She likes to sleep in a teepee. I love the shot with the nano wall at the bottom left, a big wall that opens up to your garden. It's important to consider how you live because if it's not going to work for your family, forget about it,
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
And we tell everybody that. Very important. Okay, give priority to the hardest working rooms.
Exactly.
The reason that kitchens and baths sell your house is because nobody wants to renovate them. They cost a fortune. They're very, you have to shut your house down. They're hard to work around. So if I had a limited amount of money to spend on a renovation, I would do those two rooms first and leave everything else for later.
Exactly.
What do you think?
Well, because those are the things you can kind of do on your own a little bit at a time, whether it's updating your sofa or changing a paint color, but those are the things you want to do once. And you might update small things, but if you're going to do it well and do it once.
The bottom right-hand corner is Brian Gluckstein. I always love to show this kitchen. It's his kitchen. He does not cook. Does that not look like a cook's kitchen
It
to you?
does. I just realized all the black.
And the one in the bottom left-hand corner is from England.
Yeah, Duval, I believe.
It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
I love
It's
that.
the new look of the bespoke English kitchen.
I need to show you scouts of my kitchen because I really riffed on this look.
Really?
I
you have the dark lowers?
I did black, they usually do a dark navy, but I did
love
black.
that.
Yeah, thank you. And I did it with Carrera, which I know it's a little more humble.
We
than
want to
some of them.
see.
Yeah.
I think that middle one, isn't that Sharon Mimram's kitchen?
Yes, it is.
I've lost track, but anyway, gorgeous. Okay, create a great envelope. That's the single best advice we can give you. You have to create a beautiful envelope so that everything you put in will look good. And you can stop. If you can do your bathroom and kitchen, create your envelope, and then just wait until you can afford to furnish it, right?
And then the decorative things.
Let's talk about what you did.
Okay.
Okay.
So exactly that. So creating an envelope is just kind of focusing on the things like the architectural details or just the small details. So, for example, in the more contemporary shot on the
left.
there, It's a great little detail to finish a more contemporary doorway. It's been kind of clad on the interior, and then there's a really clean finished drywall edge paired with a really simple baseboard. If you did that throughout, it would look like $1 million.
Beautiful.
A more traditional thing to consider.
Beside it, the one beside it?
Yeah, so
I did that. That was a show house.
This has always been one of my favorites.
Really?
I really love this.
So
I love that color of the wood and like how the hinges just kind of pop.
That was natural oak.
Yeah.
We just oiled it afterwards, but we spent our money on the doorways, the insides of the doorways and the doors, and the rest was just plaster painted white.
And then you don't need things like applied molding and like coffered ceilings because you're getting so much bang for your buck on the casement and on
I think what they can't see is above that, the black wall, those are picture frame moldings, surface applied. And you know that's the least expensive way to give detail to your space. Just go to the lumberyard, get skinny picture frame moldings. You can do this yourself, right? With miter the corners, apply them in a pattern, paint them.
Exactly.
Instant fabulous.
And add a really dark color and it looks like $1 million completely.
Yeah.
The next one beside it, it's a little thinking beyond molding, but grass cloth is something, it's like the next step to paint, I think.
Yeah.
It just has so much texture and I love seeing the seams of it and how cozy and warm it feels, but it's something that's timeless, and you've told me recently that you can even paint it eventually.
You can paint grass cloth. It's a good trick.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s and 80s, when we had grass cloth, we all used it, and then we got sick of it.
Yeah.
Instead of ripping it down and having the wall come with it, we just painted it all, and it looks
That'd be
fantastic.
so cool. I've seen a piece of grass cloth covered furniture that had been painted, and I absolutely loved it.
That's
I'd
good
love
too.
to see it on walls.
Yeah, it's good.
But then a little more like country or kind of, this is a basement by Barb Purdy. It's been clad in like a horizontal.
Which shot is that?
The one on the bottom with the stool.
Okay.
It's been clad in like a horizontal, really humble material, but it just makes it so much more interesting than say drywall.
Yeah.
And it's also easy for people to invest as well.
Yeah. And the bottom right is if we all lived in Paris, have a place like
go
that.
for it. But
Okay, think about sight lines. So the view from one room to the next is really important. And one of the most satisfying things about a good decorating job or design job is when you sit back and look into the next room and it's harmonious.
Yeah.
That
Totally
is critical.
Right. That is another thing I completely learned from you.
Okay, so the one on the left, Joel did. This was a client's job, right?
Yeah, this is a good friend of Liz
Excellent
Margal's.
sight line. I can see right straight through the kitchen to the black doors.
It's an exciting thing to kind of see how the front of the house and the back of the house connect, and just have something there that catches your eye, like you said. And
by painting those doors black, you drew the eye through.
Yeah.
The next one is one of my jobs at a show house, and I love that view into the sitting room, into the TV room. I love that view. I placed this sectional just so that I could have that hit of black to draw your eye through.
And in each case, you're also seeing how the doorway almost frames that view. So it's a beautiful sightline, then it's almost framed like a piece of art in this kind of contrasting doorway.
And then the bottom is, the bottom one in is Kelvin Brown's last apartment.
Love that house.
2 apartments ago, And the one above it is another show house I did. Dining rooms are fabulous for sight lines because usually the dining room is the one room in your house that you don't mess up.
Yeah.
You set it all up beautifully, beautiful chandelier, flowers, whatever. So if people walk in and they turn their head and that's the first thing they see, it's pretty impressive, right?
I totally agree.
And the bottom right, you did.
Yeah, we actually did that in studio, believe it or not, but that was the same idea where we were creating the sense of a front entranceway with a dining room off the side, but it's all just about how everything...
He builds walls in the studio, and he paints them so that you get that great view. I thought that was a house, Joel.
Really?
Oh
my God, I fooled you.
I did.
The larger version
is that one of yours above it?
No, I think that's Bata.
Right. Yes, Sonia Bata's place.
Bata's.
Of Bata's shoes, I remember. Okay. Flooring and rugs are huge decisions that you have to make. So we're going to run through some of our favorites. I'm going to start by saying that I've had ebony hardwood floors for many, many years, and I'm desperate to go light.
Really?
I want to go sort of bleach blonde.
I can see that.
But it's a huge commitment, and I know that rugs look better on dark floors, so that's more dramatic. Dark floors are terrible if you have kids or dogs with claws because they show everything. But they're the most dramatic, beautiful,
really
formal floors. Now I want to go light. I'm getting close.
It's also they're not super shiny though, so or do they? I guess.
Well, upstairs I have monster floors that are almost black and they're not shiny. That's the best.
Yeah.
Downstairs are shiny. Okay, what's your favorite wood color?
I'd say it's probably the lower, like the mid-tone that you did in one of
mid-tone.
the Princess
Okay.
Margaret houses.
That's a
think
herringbone.
That's kind of what we ended up doing in our house. There was really beautiful, like the original floorboards that were covered in carpets in the Victorian era,
Yeah.
but it wasn't consistent and it had been demoed terribly. So I just tried to match it as much as we could. I'd say a 5-inch plank, super matte, in a beautiful
in
mid-tone
a sort of
color.
mid-tone.
Yeah.
Mid-tone's safe because if you want to sell a house, mid-tone will. Everybody likes it.
And it's
right?
what looks good with other furniture tones. You can put an ebony piece of furniture
True.
or a light piece of furniture.
True.
It has a nice play with the other tones.
And the bottom right-hand corner is Jill Cantelberg, and she did bluestone floors.
I love that, yeah.
Gorgeous, they cost the earth. I'm not, you're not doing bluestone, but you could do slate that looks like bluestone. And then we have a big trend of the year on the top right-hand corner, the interrupted floor, which is when you actually do wood and then you bring tile up to it and you have it kind of it looks like it's interrupting the floor. It's just a really cool
Super
statement. It's great in a kitchen or a bathroom because there's some parts where you want floor that's waterproof, so you do your tiles. And then your hallway area where you walk through is wood and you bring it up together.
I love the look. It's also, I feel like you need a really good contractor to pull it off, but if you do it well, it can be super chic. And especially in a herringbone pattern, which is really traditional.
Why do you think herringbone and chevron is the #1 pattern right now?
First, if I had to choose, I'd say herringbone. Or I don't know, I like
Well,
both.
herringbone overlaps.
Yeah, they're basically
right?
the same.
Chevron
Yeah.
doesn't. It just comes to a point. So the bottom left is chevron. It's way more expensive than herringbone because it all has to be hand cut. I think it's the French thing.
I think it is the French thing. I
Yeah,
think it's
it's
maybe
European.
because we hadn't seen it in a while. We're excited about it, but the fact is it's
pretty
been
cool.
going on forever.
Okay. Rugs are art for your floor. I collect old rugs, and I've had them my whole life. I'm never getting rid of them. They look good in every house I've ever been in. They're
And they
art.
sometimes get better with age as
Yeah.
well. The more they wear and the more
So
they...
that's a thing you can do later. You don't have to do that first.
Exactly.
Right? But consider that. Lighting. Talk about the 3 kinds of lighting that every room has to have.
So overall, ambient, and task are the 3 things you really want to consider. Overall would be basically like either window light, or we could talk about skylights, or basically just the general pot
Or
lighting.
just pot lights in your ceiling.
And then ambient is kind of what's kind of setting the mood. A lot of times it's the really dramatic chandelier, which is always on a dimmer. Make sure to do that. And then task are basically what's lighting the areas that you need to work at. So potentially the island here, or the bedside, or in this case also the sconces in the bathroom.
So the kitchen has all the kinds of light you need. It has the general light from the skylight, and there's pot lights going on.
Yep.
It has the task light, which is probably under counter.
Exactly.
And your hood, you turn that light on. And the 3 lights, the pendants,
Yep.
are both task and decorative.
Because you're able to put those on a dimmer. You wouldn't want those to be full blast unless you were,
Right.
I don't know, vacuuming.
You gotta have those 3.
Yeah.
And if you don't have your lights on dimmers, that's the best piece of advice we can give you today.
Gosh, you could not
Put
even
all
renovate,
your
just
lights
get
on
dimmers.
dimmers.
I agree.
Even your lamps. You can go to the hardware store and they have this great thing. It's like a little disc. It's brass. And it's got a wire and it connects to your lamp. It connects to the plug.
Yeah.
And you just tap it and it dims your lamps.
And it's
it
that
has
beautiful
5
little
different
brass
levels.
thing.
Just get it.
Yeah. It's a great.
It's great.
At our new house, because we were building, had the flexibility of really thinking about the lighting, and I put a lot of the plugs on dimmers, which I know can be annoying if you plugged in an alarm clock, but it's allowed me to sync a number of lamps on one switch that I
that's
then
the
can
best.
dim, and then you can really control the
best.
lighting. Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
And if you're renovating, when you're wiring your house, tell your electrician when he puts in your outlets, the bottom half is where you plug in all your lamps that you want to turn off with one switch. The top half is for everything else.
Yep. That's exactly what I did.
All your lamps are on the bottom half, and then you just flick the switch once, and they all go off at once. It's brilliant.
And then you can dim them all, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and you
we
dim
even
them all
had our
at
Christmas
once.
tree on it.
One
so,
dimmer does
yeah.
all of them.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Makes a big difference.
Mix in antiques. We both do this.
We both do this, but I think we're seeing this. I mean, antiques is obviously something we've loved, and everyone has loved in decorating for years and years and years. But in all of these very contemporary, more striking homes, a gorgeous antique just stands out like a piece of art, especially against a beautiful white wall, crisp art. Antiques really can make a room in the same way that art can make a room, like we were talking about. I'm longing for a grandfather clock. I don't know where I'd put it, and I'm sure they're super expensive.
I bet you can get one for not much money right now
You're
because
right.
because people don't want them.
Like a buffet, or people
I know.
are thinking that they no longer want them. But like this gorgeous clock, I know that it was the homeowner's grandma's, and she was uncertain of it. And I think this was my absolute favorite photo in this
I love
house.
it. And the next one is Bonnie Brooks 2 houses ago.
Yeah.
And that's Chinese furniture she's brought with her in every house she's been in.
Yeah.
And the one on the right is Paloma Fuller. And she was in our magazine a few years ago. And like, it looks cool.
It really
She has
does.
like French, formal furniture, but mixing it with plexiglass and modern art. If anybody tells you antiques are out, no, they're not.
No. It's just a matter of
They're
tempting them with,
timeless.
they're timeless, and you can make them feel fresh and
And they're
full of
coming
energy.
back. But you have to mix them.
Exactly.
You have to mix them with modern.
You
You
gotta
can't
change
have them all by
wallpaper, it would-
themselves.
yeah.
Small decorative details. You love this.
I do love this.
Okay, tell us about your love of details.
I love the details because they're the things that even if not everyone else notices, you notice them, and they kind of, as a decorator, they feed my soul sometimes.
And also, you're a stylist at heart. We're both stylists.
So it's kind of in the same way of creating sight lines. You're creating these little vignettes of layered accessories and things
Right.
that you collect and that you change up, but also that really just add another level of personality to your home that just furnishing and painting doesn't really do.
So look at the bathroom. You know why that shot is so clever? Because of the towels edged in black.
Yeah.
They draw your eye. I mean, white towels wouldn't do that, right?
like those
The
tiny little
punctuation
details.
mark.
I agree.
And brass hardware on a black door. And the room on the left I did for a show house. Those bookcases are useless. You can't really put books in them because, well, you could, I guess. You could put books and then too big. They're display cabinets.
Yeah.
And I just put little things in there, and it's just like fabulous. It's like a piece of art, right?
It really is. It's kind of showcasing your favorite things.
Your faucets.
And it's also just all the other details. I love a wall-mounted faucet, although way more work from a plumbing standpoint. There's something so chic and so custom about it that if you can do it right, it's worth it every
great.
time.
Okay. Add drama. Really important. You have to decide how you're going to add drama. Joel, tell us about the room on the left. I think, did you do that? The bathroom?
No, I didn't.
But you picked that one.
So adding drama, the easiest way, in my opinion, is a paint color, and a dark paint color is a great way to do it. I know that we often say, like, make your powder room a jewel, but I think any room in the house that can kind of be its own moment, is a great place to kind of do something.
The only reason we say powder room is because it doesn't take as much courage
Exactly.
to paint a powder room high gloss burgundy. Because if you get it wrong, you can repaint
it back,
right?
yeah.
And
But-
because you don't spend very long in a powder room, so you don't have to love it for a long time, right?
Exactly.
And your guests will find it very dramatic.
Exactly. It creates the instant drama when you walk in. It's the same way you've done with, I know, your front foyer. It's a dark color, so you're created with, you enter to this mood that is warm and inviting, and then it opens up onto white and light. So it's just creating a different sense from one room to another, but just through these dark colors.
So the bathroom with the wood frame going around it, that was a show house. And that dark wood frame was a brilliant idea, not mine. It was Aaron Feesby's idea.
Love that. How it goes
and
below,
it
too.
just focuses the whole room. Otherwise, it would just be a regular white bathroom. But
Exactly.
that wood frame around the mirror, that created the
Elevates
drama.
it in a way.
And the wallpaper one, what do you think about patterned wallpaper?
See, I don't know. I'm on such a grass cloth kick right now. We did pattern in our powder room, but I do love in this case especially,
great.
I love the contrast, and I love the
Pretty great.
just how everything else can then be quiet. Like really, it's quite simple. We've got a wood desk and a white bedding and white curtains, but then that wallpaper just brings it
Pretty
to another
great.
level. I agree.
So the laundry room was another show house. That was one of mine, and that was not an expensive laundry room. I don't know, it could be IKEA cabinets and a black washer dryer, but it had to be a passageway through the house, and so we had to make it dressy.
Yeah.
So we painted it black. It was not a big thing, and we put white shelves.
Yeah. It's
And the
that
one on the right is in our trends issue. This is a big trend. This is the hip, ethnic, global look.
Yeah.
I love that room.
I love it that it's still decorated. I love that there's really heavy mohair drapes and
And the wallpaper is
yeah.
graphic, and it makes it
Exactly.
feel modern.
And it's just the
And
layer of
antique
pattern
rug,
and color.
black window frames. I'm not sick of them yet. Are you?
No,
the
I'm
door
not.
frames.
I'm
not
not.
sick of them yet.
No.
They're still really appealing. Okay, now you have to guess whose room that is. It's a Hollywood celebrity. And is it Mindy Kaling?
love
Reese
Mindy.
Witherspoon. Beth did this for our Trends Breakfast. Adam Levine, probably, because he has a lot of taste,
Yeah.
right?
Like he could.
Leonardo. Zoe.
Does anybody
Jim
think they know?
Parsons. What do you think? What do you think? You know the answer?
I do.
Okay. Adam Levine sounds like a really good guess, but it's wrong.
Anybody?
Zoe sounds good.
Oh, I think I heard
Mindy
it over
sounds
here.
good,
Yeah.
but you're all wrong.
It is.
Where is he? It's Jim Parsons.
Yeah.
Can you believe that's
He hired-
in his house?
You know, he hired
must
a good
have
firm.
a decorator.
Yeah. Commune Design, I think.
And a
out of
partner.
LA. Yeah.
I just never would put it together. Would you?
I know.
Yeah.
I could see him living there though. He's
You
cool
could?
and has.
He's cool.
I mean, like I feel like maybe I only know his character.
It's pretty. I thought that was really fun. Okay, art can make a room. We all know that, but it doesn't have to be expensive. The installation on the far left is friends of mine. It's expensive. It's a many-piece installation. The bathroom beside it, you did.
Yeah, that was actually a friend she was moving from another home, and she just. This piece of art was too tall for any other place in the house, but
It's
she hung it
brilliant
right
there.
over the baseboard, and it's that move
beautiful.
that kind of makes it and adds some personality.
Is it like a big expensive painting? Because you wouldn't put it in the bathroom if it was.
It wasn't. I think it's natural curiosity, so it's
Yeah, and just make sure you
printed.
use protective glass. And if you're putting it in a place that has a lot of moisture, like a steamy bathroom, make sure it's not an expensive piece
Yeah.
because it won't hold up. But it looks great there. Okay, and the top is again Bonnie's old house. That's her Asian art that she takes with her, and the one below with the green walls.
It's.
You found that one.
No, actually, forgetting his name. Avenue Road.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? That looks
But
good.
super chic. That's that moment
Super
where
chic.
like this. I was most inspired by this bedroom when creating my own bedroom because of the warmth of that grass cloth. But then the art just kind of setting it all off. Really.
So if you can afford it, buy good art. But if you can't afford it, here's another option. None of these are expensive.
Piecing it together.
Learn to create a salon wall, and like an art gallery. It takes a little bit of doing, and you have to play around with measure, lay the pattern out on the floor, move things around, be prepared to have extra holes.
Yeah.
But look,
It
the
always
effect
works.
is fantastic, and you can collect things from flea markets. You don't have to have expensive art.
Exactly, and it can evolve over time as your tastes change, or
Yep.
like adding to it, or like some of them feel more graphic, like you don't want to change them all that often, but at the same time.
But the one on the top right is yours.
Yeah, that's my old place. That was trickier because that was into concrete. So
Oh,
making
God.
a mistake was
Oh.
a little more difficult. I hired someone with a hammer drill to put it up for me,
But it looks good, Joel.
yeah, thank you. It really did make that space seem way cozier and have way more impact than.
And the one with the plates, those are plastic plates from John Darien. You buy a kit, and you hang them all in a grouping, and they look
Love that.
fantastic. And the one below it was another show house, black and white frame prints, inexpensive, but the fact that we did it in a grid made for a big dramatic statement.
True. These things on their own, they might not feel all that important, or they're just kind of made to look small in a large home, but when you put them together, they have so much more
Yeah.
impact. It's
Yes.
a really easy trick.
Yeah, very nice. Okay, favorite antiques. We both have some.
Yeah.
What are yours?
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to call this an antique, but I have a bowl from my grandpa that I think he pulled it out of a dump or a disposal site once, and he had big plans to refinish it, and I asked him not to, and I've had it forever. I think it's probably been in about 25 house and home photo shoots with
But it's
various
very
fruit in it.
soulful.
It's soulful, and it's just I love everything about it. I think that's what an antique is supposed to do. It's supposed to add a bit of just a little bit of, not necessarily grit, but
Yeah.
a bit of energy or softness to a room in a sense.
But that chair looks like it came from Mike Angus, did it?
That one, this is actually not mine. It's
Oh,
just-
it's a
I am
Mike Angus
looking for this chair.
chair.
If anyone has seen this chair, I will buy
Yeah.
it from you because
It's a beautiful chair.
I love that. I don't even know what it's
Oh,
called, that type
It's
of
a shield back.
Shield back.
And at the end of a hallway, that chair, it just draws your eye.
And the back of it is this, it's a solid wood piece, and framed by that mirror
Beautiful.
is just perfection. And another thing that I'm loving these days are deco-inspired case goods. There's
Boxes.
they're
Is that like a For a table?
They're bedside tables.
Okay.
So they're almost that stacked box, but it's kind of the I don't know, the Art Deco era is still very clean and simple,
Yeah.
and all of that gorgeous burled wood, but it works so beautifully with the kind of 70s retro.
So collect little antiques.
Yeah.
Just treat them like jewels.
Yeah.
Some of my favorites, that's my dresser from my bedroom. It's a it's a pine English Chippendale piece, and it's old, and it's been with me in every house. And beside it is my living room fireplace, which comes from France. It's a vintage piece. It's like salvage. Finding old fireplaces and installing them in your house is a great trick. And on the right, I collect mid-century modern. That's a Plattner chair. Love it. Favorite lights?
So these are the lights that I feel like I'm loving the most right now. The one on the far right, the black pendant, is from South Hill Home.
Yep.
I love the uplight quality of it and how it's the small scale of it in a room. So often chandeliers and light fixtures are really large and
pretty
really
artistic,
breathtaking,
Joel.
where this is kind of a small little light. I also love this globe lamp. It's a table lamp, which was our gotta have it for last
Yeah,
month.
that's like a throwback.
It is a throwback.
That's what I had like when I was in college.
I don't know. I didn't have one yet, so I'm allowed to get
So
it now.
it's new for you.
Yeah, but I love the quality of
They're
light.
very
And it's super accent. You couldn't read beside it, but
Yeah.
it's just sculpture that lightens. And then these brutalist sconces, we've seen them for a couple of years now, but they look like art, and the
Yeah.
way they emit light is also
Yeah.
like art. So all of these are
pretty
a lot
cool.
more art.
They're all available at stores around town.
Yeah, so the two on either side are from South Hill, and the center is CB2.
CB2?
Yeah.
Can't be expensive.
No, it's not.
See, currently my favorites, I love the Serge Moulet 3-arm, and I can't afford it yet, Joel. It's very
It is
expensive.
super expensive and
I can't
delicate.
justify it quite yet.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting a knockoff. I want the real thing.
Yeah.
The one in the middle I actually have. It's the Self-Floss Sconce by Aaron Lauder. It's in my bathroom.
Love that
And
light.
the one on the right is the Man-Woman lamp from Portia Romana, and it's at South Hill Home.
Beautiful.
And it
That's
feels like sculpture.
It really does.
Favorite paint colors?
I'm a sucker for brown these days, especially a brown that has a minky green undertone to it. I think it's a reaction to all of the gray we've been seeing.
And it's a replacing black.
Yeah, I think
it's
so
a good
too.
accent.
I mean, you can still have both in the same
Yeah.
room, but it's a more approachable for some people. And then any sort of kind of pale, watery blue that has
Yeah.
enough green in it that it's not too little boy's bedroom.
Yeah, that's a pretty great blue.
Yeah, and you could paint that baseboards, moldings, ceiling. That's a really, really versatile
Good ceiling
shade.
color.
Yeah.
I would do just the ceiling. Nothing wrong with having a sky blue ceiling
I
in
love
an
that.
otherwise white room
Yeah,
or
it's
cream
just
room.
a subtle accent.
So mine are Stoneware Tint 3 from Para. Fabulous color. It just looks like drab, a no color. You're not sure
Yeah.
what it is, but it gives depth. So if you
Exactly.
put white against it or light furniture, it looks fantastic.
beautiful.
And Bella from Para is a beautiful cream. It's like Devon cream. Okay, let's talk about how to test a paint color. You never test it on the wall, ever.
Yeah, you're right.
Paint a board.
Okay, and then move it.
And you
around.
prime it first, then you let it dry, then you paint 2 coats, letting it dry in between.
Okay.
Then you carry it around the house, morning, noon, and night, in all different lights.
Changes. You're right.
Do you do that?
I do, because these kinds of colors have so much depth and variation that they will look different in the morning and
Yeah.
in the evening, and
Yeah.
I've done that as well.
Yeah.
I need to do the board. I end up just with a bunch of patches all over
do
the place. I
that?
know. I need
No. And
learning.
also, and play with sheen levels.
That's
Sort of a
important.
rule of thumb is the more hardworking the room, the higher the sheen level. So you'd never use a matte in a bathroom. You'd
Yeah.
have to use a low luster at least, right?
That's true.
I love gloss on my baseboards, on my trim, and then I like to use the semi-gloss on the walls. I don't do matte.
I use
about you?
eggshell on the walls and satin on the trim.
Yeah.
But again, like you need that shift in sheen to just give it a bit more punch.
Yeah.
If you have really beautiful like plaster moldings, I would go gloss in a heartbeat. But just make sure your moldings are in good shape because the glossier paint can
Yeah.
start to show imperfections.
Well, so you
a
just
little
have to
more.
go around with polyfill and
Yeah,
sand
and
them and
touch it
fill
up.
them
It's
up.
worth
Just
it.
fill them,
It's
fill them,
worth
fill
it.
them. Okay, so these are some of our rules.